Russian President Vladimir Putin made bold declarations during his virtual address to the BRICS summit in Africa. Jean Domingo reports.
Russian President Vladimir Putin claimed that de-dollarization, or the move away from the U.S. currency, was gaining momentum during his video message to the BRICS Business Forum, held on the sidelines of the 15th summit in Johannesburg, South Africa. He added that the BRICS members are seeking to reduce their reliance on the dollar when it comes to mutual transactions. Putin claimed that the U.S. dollar is losing its global role in an objective and irreversible process, and that the 5 BRICS members are Russia, China, India, Brazil, and South Africa are becoming the new world economic leaders, adding that their cumulative share of global GDP has reached 26%. If measured by purchasing power parity, Putin said BRICS has already surpassed the Group of 7, or G7 nations, accounting for 31% of the global economy, compared to 30% for the G7. Over the past decade, mutual investment between the BRICS member states has increased by 6 times. Their total investments in the world economy have doubled, while cumulative exports account for 20% of the global total, as said by Putin. Putin was represented by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov after a decision by the International Criminal Court, or ICC, to issue an arrest warrant in March. The court based the order on Ukraine's accusations that the Russian evacuation of children from the conflict zone amounted to unlawful population transfers. As a signatory of the ICC's Rome Statute, the international body's move put South Africa under precedent, while Russia rejected ICC accusations and said that it does not recognize their authority. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has repeatedly said that he would not carry ICC's orders because it would amount to a declaration of war. In the end, Putin ultimately decided to send Lavrov to represent Moscow in person, while he will join the summit virtually. For Newsline World, this has been Jean Domingo, SMNI News.
The White House announced that U.S. President Joe Biden will discuss reforms in the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and the World Bank in the upcoming G20 summit in India. Now, this announcement comes at a time when the BRICS nations are currently holding their leaders' summit in South Africa. Does Biden's move have something to do with BRICS? Andrea Santos has the details.
United States President Joe Biden is set to advocate for reforms within the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, or IMF, during the upcoming G20 summit in New Delhi, signaling an intent to reshape global finance. This move coincides with the annual BRICS summit in Johannesburg, where emerging economies are discussing strategies to counter the dominance of Western-led financial frameworks. The White House has outlined Biden's focus on modernizing multilateral development banks, including the World Bank and the IMF, aiming to provide effective and transparent solutions to challenges faced by developing countries. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has announced Washington's plans to propose measures at the G20 summit that would bolster the lending capacity of the World Bank and IMF by around $200 billion. The BRICS nation, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, account for a quarter of the global economy. Meanwhile, around 40 countries expressed that they want to join the bloc. Despite the economic clout, Sullivan stresses that the United States does not perceive the BRICS group as a rising geopolitical rival and that their support for the World Bank and the IMF is not against China. He also described BRICS as a diverse collection of countries with distinct economic interests. Reporting, this is Andrea Santos, SMNI News.
China said it hopes South Korea and other countries will join hands for solidarity and development within the Asia-Pacific region. This comes amid the increasing tensions following the trilateral summit of the top leaders of U.S., South Korea, and Japan at Camp David last week. Sigrid Castañeda has the details.
China expects South Korea, together with other countries, to cooperate to avoid division, dispute, and confrontation, adding that unity should be embraced for peace and prosperity of the entire Asia-Pacific region. This was stated by Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin in a press briefing this week. On the other hand, South Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin said in an interview with Yonhap News Agency that Seoul gave a detailed explanation regarding its trilateral meeting with Japan and the U.S. at Camp Davis last Friday to China through diplomatic channels. Park clarified that the purpose of the meeting was not to target any nation. He also stressed that South Korea is ready to build a healthy and mature relationship with China according to the principle of respect that will benefit both countries.
中方注意到朴振外长的有关表态，在美日韩领导人戴维营会晤结束后，韩方通过外交渠道向中方介绍了会晤情况，并做了解释说明。针对此次美日韩领导人会晤和共同文件相关情况，特别是涉华消息动向，中方已公开表明严正立场关切，也第一时间向有关方面提出严正交涉。
According to Wang, China noticed Foreign Minister Park Jin's comment after the summit at Camp David, where Park gave details to China about what was discussed in the summit through diplomatic channels. Furthermore, China advised partner countries to be wise in their statements and acts about China.
我们奉劝并敦促有关国家谨言慎行，停止抹黑中方形象、损害中方利益，停止制造分裂对抗、损害地区和平稳定。 不要以牺牲他国战略安全利益和亚太人民福祉为代价谋一己私利。中方重视韩方表达的希望同中方发展关系的意愿，希望韩方同中方和地区国家一道，拒绝分裂冲突、阵营对抗的旧模式，开辟亚太团结合作、繁荣发展的新前景。
Wang said that some countries should just stop the destructive allegations to ruin China's image. In addition, Wang also said to stop division, confrontation, and acts that bring damage to peace and stability in the region, as well as to stop selfish interests. For God and my beloved Philippines, this has been Sigrid Castañeda, SMNI News.